Hey guys, good day, magandang araw sa inyo. And today we'll be drawing a natural wonder. It's almost the same as the robotic zoo, but this time the assignment calls for an observation mech that's based off an animal. As you can see from the example here, my mech will be based off a sloth, and I'm thinking that he's designed to climb trees and observe endangered animals in the forest silently without drawing attention to himself. So let's go! Okay, no? So while we're drawing this, siguro I'd like to talk to you guys about moods. Ayun. It's something that we as artists are always struggling with, and it's something that we need to be able to deal with. I mean, it should not affect our artistic output, especially as professionals. But the sad reality is that it does, and there will be bad drawing days, and there will be good ones. There will be days when there's magic and you're in the zone, and then there are days when focus just can't be found. It's a daily struggle, really, but a struggle that I like to believe can be dealt with. I used to think that moods do not matter. I used to dismiss it altogether when I was a bit younger, and just faulted myself for being lazy when I could not work. For me, that was the end all and be all to it. You see, I was attracted by the idea of the working Renaissance artist. That is, that artists are just like other people doing their jobs. We do not stop when we are not in the mood, in the very same way that accountants will keep on balancing their sheets and dentists will keep on taking care of teeth even when they do not feel like doing it. Being an artist for me then was a job to be proud of and be productive in, not something that you should do only when you are in the mood. Sadly, though, mood affects us all, and an artist that's not in the mood will most probably produce something that is subpar as compared to what they normally do. In the same way that a dentist might work slower when they're not feeling it. The only difference, I think, is that since our work is based on the merit of what is acceptably beautiful and not of a really cut out logical series of steps that can be done regardless of how you feel, it becomes a bit harder because we know that at the end our work will be judged not only by the market but also by ourselves. So it's really important for me now that I started really thinking about it that we pay extra attention to our moods while making sure that we do not use it as an excuse to not work, okay? So, way back when I graduated, I decided that I wanted to teach art and was advised to take up a master's degree to be able to teach in college. I took a master's of visual communication course in UST and dropped out of it a year shy of graduation. I've already taken 30 units, I think, but I felt that the degree no longer mattered to me because I'd begun to have other plans and wanted to work in game development and do illustration full time. And to basically shy away from the academic path that I originally wanted to pursue when I was just fresh off my bachelor's degree. Well, you see, another factor is that my family is very academically inclined. So, well, I realized that at that point, being all academic wasn't going to help me. So, I decided to quit. It was a nice time though, and there was one term when our professor showed us how important it was for us to pay attention to our moods because it will greatly affect our output as artists. Now, I had great respect for this prof, by the way, because he was quite productive as an artist, even though he was teaching and was, in fact, the dean of our college then. He asked us to produce around 50 pieces of artworks in a span of a week, just as one plate. Okay? And man, that week was hell because on top of taking my masters, I was also working full time. So it was really crazy. It was an impossible task, but most of us were able to do it, and admittedly, the work I came up with was bad. The body of work, that is. Like, really rushed and enormously bad. But the prof told us that beauty here was not the goal. The activities went to force us to work through our moods, to go through even if we do not feel like doing so, and to help us see how our moods affected the output that we make. So he asked us to lay on the floor the work that we did in order of when we worked on them, and to pay attention to the patterns that would surface in our work. We were also asked to explain how we were feeling during those times when we were working on them. So it's quite obvious, of course, that when we were in a better mood, our art looked better, and when we did not feel like working, it was ugly. But there were nuances that would show here and there, like our choice of colors when we were angry or sad, or the quality of line work that we did when we were happy or tired, and so on and so forth. Sometimes the stuff was ugly. Actually, in my case, it was often. Sometimes beautiful, but each piece was made in a unique way, and in its own way, the output was unique. My takeaway from that activity was that we can actually hammer through our moods, and if we pay real attention to what we are really feeling at the moment, we can use that to produce art, just so we do not allow that to paralyze us into inaction. In this regard, art is an outlet, and the way we work around those moods and keep on pushing forward will largely determine our success as artists. Okay, so our prof shared with us how he improved his mood then, or how he tricked himself into working even when he was feeling rotten. So for him, it was dancing. He told us that he'd lock himself somewhere where no one would see him and play one of his daughter's CDs and just dance. This worked really well for him, and so I figured that perhaps the real secret is that we needed to know what our triggers were, the stuff that we need to do to help us get into the zone. Just enough in order for us to get in the mood to work. Now, for me, it's actually quite a lot of small things that help me get into a good groove when I really do not feel like working. One is coffee. I find that I can't do anything meaningful when I'm not caffeinated. And I do take a lot of small naps that really, really perks me up. And now that I'm working from home, it's actually quite harder to get into the groove. And so I find that I just need to spend at least 10 minutes working and then take a short break. When I get back after that break, more often than not, I'm ready to work. I also try to use as much as I can the Pomodoro technique, where you work for 25 minutes and then take 5-minute breaks to readjust your focus. That dog keeps on barking. Okay, so anyway, I find this really relaxing. And when you're struggling with focus, for those days when you just want to browse the internet to look for vintage G.I. Joe toy reviews, that challenging yourself to focus for just 25 minutes and then to sort of reward yourself with browsing for 5 minutes works a lot. In retrospect, 25 minutes does not seem like much, so the willpower to focus is easier to muster than when you think of having to really focus for a whole day. After 4 sessions of this, you're asked to take a break for 10 minutes to rest, and then the cycle just repeats itself. It's focus and then break, focus and then break. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I keep a model kit beside me, something that's always in progress when I'm working. I also have books and a lot of toys near me. So there's always something to look forward to after those 25 minutes of focus. My place is always a mess actually, but at least it helps me get there. Okay, so I find too that documentaries work quite a lot as well as movies. For those days when it's really, really hard to focus on what I'm doing, I don't really watch the movies, more of just listen to them while I'm working, and I take an occasional glance every once in a while. And I find myself actually working a bit slower like this, but at least I get to stick with what I am doing and eventually finish the job that I need to do in a manner that makes me happy in the process. When I'm doing concepts or storyboarding, I prefer music. Stories and narratives makes my mind go blank and into the render zone. So when I need to think, it's music or silence that works. Anything that's got visuals won't work for me, but for some people it might. So know what makes you tick. I also try to go out every other day. I ride my bike, and after an hour or so, I'm good and I can get back to working. My mind is clearer, and I like taking in the outside world while I go about. I find that sweating things out also greatly improves my mood. So even in those days when I hate the world, the wind in my face just makes me want to get back to drawing again. Video games, toys, books, comics, and music, whatever fuels you. You just keep them close to you at all times because well, you'll never know when you'll need to call on them to help keep you on track on a particularly rough day. So there, pay attention to your moods and surround yourself with stuff that you like. Do something that you enjoy doing while working or during short breaks from work, and make sure that you get enough rest and mental feeding daily. Realize that moods will always be there, so you must learn to deal with them, embrace them because they will make whatever you make that day unique, at least. And that's something that you can be happy about. Thanks, guys, and I hope you liked the mech. And please do like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. God bless.